Internet broadcasting stations. It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Wolo. Look up on the wall. There on the wall.
Summer League was entertaining. Good Tuesday morning to you. Entertaining, overtime thrilling, but sloppy as could be, filled with fouls, missed free throws, and a bunch of turnovers, but I guess that's kind of what you would expect first time out. I don't think there was any question in people's minds. Zach Edey proved he's going to be an NBA player. I know this is against rookies and second-year guys, Walker and Filipowski, who was some people thought would go ahead of him in the draft. He clearly looked to me to be the better impact total player all around, taking space on defense, setting screens that were outstanding, by the way. Hitting when he had to, 15 and 14, that was pretty darn impressive. A bunch of blocks in there. This game was interesting because he hit a shot. It was 14 points and 15 rebounds, by the way. The Summer League coach, when asked about him afterwards, was like perplexed that people were amazed that he'd be good. And he used this quote, "He's 7 foot forever and he knows what he's doing." I love that. 7 foot forever and he knows what he's doing. His footwork was good. I think he's going to get even better condition that people forget. They're in Utah. There is a elevation thing there. So altitude, it takes 2 weeks to really get acclimated to total altitude. So he's ahead of the game on that. I was impressed immensely with him, not so much with G.G. Jackson. He had a bad night. 6 of 20, 0 for 10 from 3, ended up with 16 points. Did make some plays to get him to overtime, but the big play was made by Zach Edey on a missed free throw by Jake LaRavia, perfectly executed, by the way. And then the big man sticks his mid in there and tipped it in. That's how you got to overtime. Grizzlies had their chance in the target. You play the first one that gets 7 points, and the overtime wins. And the Grizz had a couple of occasions to win it, and they just didn't do it. I don't think that really matters. This is Summer League, for goodness sake. I thought Scottie Pippen Jr. showed why he can be a backup point guard in the NBA. 21 points, 5 assists, 3 steals. I said he'd be the leading scorer, Zach Boyd. He was. You went with Gigi. Didn't you?
Yeah.
Well, what happened to Gigi last night?
I don't know what. And when I was watching the game, I was like, he needs to slow down. He is rushing everything.
I was surprised at that. Maybe he feels like, okay, I got my contract. I am a standard guy. A lot of people think I'm going to end up being a star in this league. Last year, I was just trying to make the team. Accepted whatever they gave me, played that role. This time he go, well, I'm supposed to be the star on this team. And I think he felt like he had to be the star on this team. And he did things that maybe he wouldn't normally have done a year ago. I'm not sure, but you're right. He rushed things. He just could not hit from the outside. He had several open looks for 3, and it didn't stop him from shooting them, 10 of them. And he didn't make it.
Yeah. And I think that, him taking 10 threes, I think that's part of the whole process of Taylor Jenkins, ingraining his guys, and instilling confidence to tell them, hey, if you take the shot when you're open, no matter how many times if you miss it, take the shot when you're open. But last night it wasn't about take the shot you was open. It's more of you're not in a rhythm, and I could tell that you're not in a rhythm. So it's let's do something different and then go back to taking those threes.
Tell you who also impressed me. I'm not sure what you do. And again, you have to think this is Summer League, right? These are guys that are free agents that are not going to be anywhere near the NBA. There's only 3 or 4 guys on these teams that will be playing in the NBA next year. But Jake LaRavia is a hard-nosed dude. He had 18 points, 7 rebounds, and he was what you would expect a guy that's going to have a standard contract, right? A former first-round pick. he played like a guy like that, other than, G.G. Jackson, who did not last night. The guy that also kind of opened my eyes a little bit, he's going to be a two-way guy, but Cam Spencer, you can see something in him, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, he's just a hard-nosed player that's willing to fight. And I said with Cam when he got drafted to the Grizzlies, I mean, like Conchard's days are starting to number here because he does similar things to what John Conchard do.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously with Conchard getting paid double the amount that he's getting, and he's on a two-way, like it's only a matter of time to where Cam gets that standardized deal and they're finding a way to move off of Conchard.
We don't see, this is one game and we don't see practice, but it sure seemed to me this guy has a chance to be an NBA player. Wells did not play very well in this game. The guy who did get a standard contract out of the Grizz, the other pick in the second round, we'll have to wait and see on him. They play again tonight. 6 o'clock this time against Philly, same place in Utah. You know who they're up against tonight?
Was it the Sixers?
Yeah, but you know who's on that team?
This is our good old friend David Jones.
Yes. He had a pedestrian kind of a game. He said he was nervous. Talked a little bit about it was a gut feel for him to go pro. He would have made more money with NIL. I know he would have made $800,000. I know that for a fact. And he chose to try to go this route. And there was no guarantee from the Sixers. So I want the kid to do well. So I hope he plays well tonight. We'll see what happens again. It is kind of fun to have basketball. Your first impression of Zach Edey, Zach Boyd?
He's going to be just fine in the NBA. I think we overblown the traditional big being played off the floor. You can win with him on the floor. You just got to make sure you have a game plan for him when he gets on the floor. But overall, like Zach was a enforcer in the paint, blocking shots, grabbing rebounds. I mean, the tip in, having to split both 7-footers to get the tip in.
Yeah, Kessler,
I mean, you're
Walker,
not.
and
this is not no ordinary rookie center you're dealing with.
No, I think he impressed everybody. The thing I like most was the way he sets screens and the footwork he uses when he sets the screens.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, you know how big his foot is? His shoe size? You know what it is?
Well, it's like a 22?
20.
Yeah.
He's got skis.
I know.
Crazy. I think he's going to be fun to watch. I really do. I think he will be a factor for the Grizz. I think that Zach Kleiman picked a piece. It was great the way they set it up. He picked a piece he thought would be good. And we'll have to see how Klingon works. And one game means nothing, right? But just from the one little game you're going, for what the Grizzlies want, this just might be the absolute perfect way they could have gone. Maybe somebody did them a favor by not doing a deal with him.
Right.
Because they want a Klingon. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
Yeah, and I think paint presence matters too. Like you can tell, like it's the defensive end for sure, but you can tell on the offensive end, like having a guy that can make easy buckets around the rim makes the offense so much better.
Now the question,
I think there was a
okay.
play in the first half, or I can't remember which half it was, where Edey had it in the post, and I mean he and the coaching staff would go back through it with him because he had Gigi open right underneath the rim that he could have like just hit him with a backdoor pass behind his back, but because he's looking around the perimeter, he catches Laravia open, flashing in front of him, hits Laravia, and he hits the three. So you could do so much more with him in the post because he is an actual threat and not somebody that teams got to sag off and like, okay, we could just park it here because he's not going to do anything with it.
Well, his shooting percentage was 7 of 9 last night. He doesn't miss. He missed a dunk.
I know, man.
That would have tied the game.
For him. That was crazy.
No, that was. I don't know how he missed it, but it is. There are people bumping you down there, but a really really good debut. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure Studios, and it's the summertime party right there at I-40 and Wynn Road. It's been going on for a while now. I'm going to be certain it's going to go all the way through this month, where you will get 24-foot above ground pools at this party sale for $19.99, under $2,000. You can get $1,000 off of a play gym. Make sure you get that installed. They've got all kinds of deals on patio furniture, up to 50% off on in-stock patio furniture. Summer's here. The party's going on. I-40 and Wynn Road. Unreal deals for great things happening now at Family Leisure. We got a busy show. Joe Dank on the business of sports. We'll ask his impression of Zach Edey. When he joins us, we'll end the program going to Nashville. Voice of the Tennessee Titans, Mike Keith, will join us to end this Tuesday. I don't think I ever had the opportunity, because I went on a little vacay, to talk about the introductory press conference of Ed Scott. And I was listening to Eli and Matt Infield talk a little bit about it. And one of the things that struck me was, he won the press conference. I don't think there's anybody out there that would deny he won the press conference. But I would go a step further. For me, Ed Scott's introductory press conference, saying all the right things, the little question and answer he did with his 5 or 6 year old daughter was so cute, and it was absolutely not planned, and it worked out great. But you see the family man, you see the sincerity, the honesty of the guy, the charisma that he has about him. I thought to myself, this is the second best introductory press conference that I've ever seen from any sport, anywhere. The second best introductory press conference that I've ever seen. The very best one took place in the Pyramid, and it was the introductory press conference for John Calipari, who also had a son that was at the time like 3 to 5 years old, and he fell asleep. They didn't do the interaction thing, but that was cute. It brought in a child, and John is pretty good at press conferences. But this guy, second best. And it's interesting. I hope Jeff Crane sticks around, just for continuity's sake, because we're at a critical time now where this Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium expansion is supposed to begin. If you're going to really have this thing ready, not for this season, but for next, you got to make your move. Now, I know there are some people who think if you're going to be a team that wins the American Championship, has the American Championship game in your ballpark, that you're going to be a playoff team, as all these prognosticators think,
right?
Maybe you ought to delay the expansion. You've already moved the press box, or you're in the midst of that, do that. But delay taking out seats and only having half a stadium after this season. You know what you do? All the money that you've raised, if you're worried about construction costs going up, put it in an interest-bearing CD for the amount of time that you think it would take. Get that. That might be your hedge. And don't do it, because it seems like it's kind of late now. Would this affect 2 seasons if you start now? I don't know. And give you more time maybe to fundraise. Just a thought, and I have no idea, because Ed Scott's getting this. He's getting all this dumped on him, which is why I think Jeff Crane is so important, because he's the guy that has been the detail guy on this the whole way. Laird Veach came up with the concept, but for the most part, I believe Jeff Crane has been working on the details. So I think Jeff is really important, and I know they want to keep him. And if you listen to Ed Scott, whose honesty shone through in that press conference, which is part of the reason why it was so good, he wants to keep him. Now, I don't blame Jeff if he wants to go. If Jeff's main goal is to be an AD somewhere, he's been passed up twice here. Mm-hmm. Is it easier to get that position of AD coming from a Power 5 school? Because he came from South Carolina. I don't know if Laird has extended an invitation to him, but I wouldn't be surprised because Missouri is going to be Memphis North. You've got, since Laird came to Memphis, he hired Blair DeBoard, right? He's now an assistant AD at Missouri. Before Laird got there, he hired away Garrett Jackson, their baseball coach, who was the Memphis baseball coach. They just took Michael Schroeder, who was involved with the SIDs and Learfield and marketing. They took him. They took his second in command, Josh Moore, and they took the lady with, and I love how they have titles. Because, I don't even understand half what these titles could be, right? The title of Emily Hagens, delightful, 30-year-old young lady, she's the Director of Athletic Stewardship Engagement. The best I can think of is she steers kids to NIL. It's got to be what it is, right?
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, but it's crazy. So all of them are gone. Oh, and I'll throw in Jessica Gibbs, who was producer of all the ESPN Plus games, plus the coaches' shows on TV. She did all
They
that.
took her too?
She's Michael Schroeder's partner.
Man, so who's left?
That's his significant other. So she went. So now they got to hire all the. It's pretty amazing how Missouri is going to look a lot like Memphis in the administration side, but that I just hope Jeff Crane stays. That's my one thing, and I think they are doing what they can to try to keep him. And I guess it'll all play out the way it plays out.
Yeah.
But it is crazy how Laird is steering so many different people away to go. And it's easy to hire somebody away from Memphis. No, I mean, you could love Memphis and love what you do.
Yeah.
But when you're going to get offered twice the money,
Can't say no.
how can you say no? And, Columbia, Missouri is not chopped liver. It's a nice place. It really is. Anyway.
It sounds like you got some property over there, Dave.
No, I wish I did. I wish I had bought property when I first moved here. Any college town, but a great example would be Oxford. Oxford, Mississippi, you could have probably bought property in Oxford, Mississippi for 30 to 40% of what you would pay for it now. Now, honestly, it's a long time ago. It's 81 when I first got here. Yeah. I think Ole Miss student population was half of what it is now. I think they've doubled their enrollment in this time period. So they've gotten bigger. But it was just a sleepy little town, and it's a cool town. But college towns have exploded. It's a great place for retirement. There's culture. There's things to do. There's athletic events. If you want to go back and take classes just to learn to keep sharp, I mean, it's a cool concept. But there's where I should have bought. I should have bought in Oxford, Mississippi.
I don't know who would want to go back to college just to take a class or whatever. I understand though. I know
when you get older, you just looking for things to do. There's only so much you can do. You want to stay sharp.
You're just knocking on a classroom door, like, "Hey, fellow students."
What is it called when you when you take a course? You're really not taking the course. You're auditing the course. That's what you do. You go in there, and you might want to hear a professor, what he's got to say about something, learn a little bit. What else you got to do that day? You're still going to lunch. Come on. That's what happens when you retire. Joe Dank's coming on the Business of Sports, coming in a bit, this portion of our show. Brought to you by Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. I should say Ken and William. William's his son. They got a third generation in the business. You can't be a family business that's on their third generation unless you do things the right way. And if you go to kengarland.com, you'll see what I'm talking about. Dream home construction, renovation with innovation, the way they treat their customers. The job is never done. You're their partner. They're going to make sure it is 100%. And that's why they're always working. They've always got a project going on. People understand if you want that dream house, you call Ken. If you want that brand new amenity in your older home because you don't want to go anywhere, he understands everything from the speakers and the wires in the wall to islands in the kitchen to the California closets, whatever it may be. You want that in your older home, he does it, and he does it incredibly. 901-751-1632. That's his number. Give them a call. Go check it out again with KenGarland.com. You can't beat it. For a renovation, for your dream home, it's Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. Joe Dank in studio on the Business of Sports in just a minute.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to real sports talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Make your next grill your last with a Big Green Egg. Smoke, bake, roast, sear, and grill, all with a lifetime warranty. Save money on fuel, eating out, and replacing expensive grills that cannot match the flavor of the Big Green Egg. Ready to cook in only 10 to 15 minutes with temperatures below 200, above 700, and anywhere in between with ease. Change your at-home cooking experience for life. Go to shop.biggreenegg.com.
Maybe you've driven by Sunrise on Jefferson or Sunrise East on Poplar and seen the full parking lot and thought you didn't want to have to wait forever for your breakfast or lunch. Well, here's the thing. At both Sunrise locations, their goal is to get you your order fresh and made just for you in 5 minutes or less. Sometimes they may not meet that goal, but the important thing is at Sunrise, they're trying to, because Sunrise only hires people that actually care about the customers. Whether it's breakfast or lunch, Sunrise on Jefferson and Sunrise on Poplar are doing their very best to give you the very best.
The light is fading, your hands are sore, and the last tool's been put away. Now's the time to feel the satisfaction that comes with a job well done. But when you get your tools from Harbor Freight, something about the job feels a little different. Your wallet. Because we believe that everyone deserves hard-working tools at hard-working prices. And that's what we have here. So, whatever you do it for us at Harbor Freight.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports, former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss Sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station.
I have seen all kind of conjecture stories. We are in a monetized world. We're always looking for extra money in the world of college sports now. I have seen where the Big Ten, which now has 20, I think going to become the Big Ten times 2. Maybe that's what they should be. I have seen where you could have, instead of being the Big Ten, they'd be the IBM League. Now, I think they would be the IBM Big Ten, or the FedEx League for the SEC. Would it be the FedEx SEC? but that a league would have the name of a brand, a big brand. The Sony ACC, or just the Sony League. Joe Dank, do you ever see that really happening? Because first of all, I didn't think there would ever be like on dasher boards in hockey in the NHL. The pros never had it. The minor leagues always did. And, of course, now it's everywhere. I never thought all these things would change. Major League Baseball the same way.
Right.
Do you foresee a day where a league could actually be a brand name? And if you do, how much would that cost?
Well, good morning, Dave. It's good to be with you again. Yeah, you probably can see it now. I mean, and it might be sooner rather than later, only because the challenge now for all of these schools and these conferences is simply to explore every revenue source that there possibly can be to meet the obligations going forward. And you know, we've talked before about the impact of allocating $20 to $22 million in revenue sharing for players. And the money has to come from somewhere. And
see, I think that's a misnomer the way that's put.
What do you mean?
They come to $22 million because they think the revenue stream will be 100%, but it's 22%. So if they keep adding money, they still got to pay out 22%. So let's say it's $100 million now, that's 22%. But if it's $120 million, it's 122% of $120 million. It keeps going up. They still got to share 22% of everything they make.
Okay, but regardless, I mean, you're not paying anything now in that category. So you're paying something you weren't paying. So you need additional revenue to offset increased expenses. And so that calls for the exploration of what we call an alternate revenue stream.
Right.
And in this case, that becomes the naming rights for the conferences. And you know, the example that came out and the reports were about the Big 12. All-State was, you know, the one they were talking about, and you know, that was reported as being contemplated as the All-State 12. And you know, various reports said it could be as much as a 9-figure multi-year agreement. So that starts at $100 million, and it matters how many years that would go for. But
I think
that's
that would
the kind of money they're looking for.
I would think that would be cheap. Spend $100 million for. So what are you saying? 5 years, $20 million a year?
Could be.
To have your name, your brand in the title, that would be the All-State 12. Every time that league was mentioned, it would be on every helmet decal, on every playing field, on every uniform. To me, that's a bargain. Although, since you mentioned, they have the patches
right
on the NBA, and I couldn't tell you which franchise has what sponsor, so I don't know how good it really
See, it always sounds like, wow, that'd be a great deal. My logo's on everything. And so then you find examples. And we live in, at the very least, the space is cluttered right now with huge amounts of corporate sponsorship identification. And as you say, you mentioned the NBA jersey patch. Now, that's interesting. It's been around now for a while. But it's always interesting to simply challenge somebody to, can you tell me the name of the sponsor patch on, the Celtics just won the championship. Who's their sponsor?
I don't know.
The Grizzlies.
Yeah.
The Grizzlies are one of 3 teams in the NBA that do not have.
Well, they had FedEx for a while.
They did for a while, but
they don't have that patch on there anymore?
They do not have it. The Grizzlies last year were one of 3 teams in the NBA that did not have a sponsor. But now listen, what do we think things are worth, right?
Right.
So 27 teams in the NBA had a sponsor patch, and those 27 teams averaged just under $11 million a year for the sponsorship patch program only. Now, it's driven up because the Knicks and the Nets, playing in New York in the number 1 media market on the planet, $30 million a year each. The Lakers signed a 5-year, $100 million deal this year, so $20 million. $20 million. Then you look at something that might be more comparable to what the Grizzlies could expect if they had a patch. Utah and Orlando each were getting $5 million. So, again, great great range in that, right? But $5 million for a patch in Utah or Orlando, up to $30 million in New York, and that's there's other things that go with that for the sponsor, but that would be seats, hospitality, things like that. But what impact does that actually have on the consumer?
Yeah.
And what impact, think about this. The CBS did a great job of branding Southeast Conference football for all those years under a Home Depot title sponsorship kind of thing. They had great presence. College Game Day is built by Home Depot, right? How many logos can you put on a set?
What does Home Depot pay for that?
You'd have to do real digging to do that, and it would be hard to put that together because it's usually part of an overall media buy and other things.
Right.
But it's a main deal for both of them. They're great pieces of business. But the question is, guys like us pay attention to this. What does the average Joe consumer do? That there are a dozen logos visible on the game day set, to what degree does that impact sales?
I know,
and what is the limit? That's all I'm saying.
Well,
what's the limit?
yeah.
Because we all like these deals.
Right.
Heck, we did them ourselves.
Is it worth it?
I mean,
Right.
we did it a lot.
What are you getting out of it?
And they do work at a certain level.
I would just think for oral presentation, not just the patch itself, right, on the fields and on the helmets and the uniforms, but you and I are sitting on this show. We're going, who's coming out of the All-State 12? I mean, it's going to be mentioned every time we're talking about the league.
Listen, I'm not suggesting there is not value. The question is, what is the value? And it's always fun to just do a little test when you say something, because a comparable piece to this, if it is called the All-State 12, that's great. Look, the FedEx Cup playoffs, right?
Right.
We have that. Who's going to make the FedEx playoffs on the PGA Tour? So that's that's a pretty good comparison, actually. Because that's a title sponsorship of a significant portion
what do they pay?
of the postseason.
I forget what they pay.
It's
very significant.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
I would think if it was the SEC or the Big Ten, if you said it's the FedEx 20, because that's what the Big Ten is now in all those markets, and you said that every time, the FedEx 20, that has to be worth more than $20 million a year, I think.
Conceivably so. We always say it. It's only worth what anybody will pay.
Right.
And there's guys a lot smarter than us who can figure out the value of those kinds of deals.
I don't think I would take away the Big Ten. I know they got a problem. They got 20 teams. But would you?
They have 18, right?
Is it 18 or 20? Isn't this terrible?
That's what's so funny about the Big Ten.
Yeah.
When is the last time they had 10 teams?
They haven't had 10 teams forever.
Right.
But they have that history. So they keep the Big Ten for that reason. And that's why I would go, it's the FedEx Big Ten. That's what I would say. I would keep.
No question.
I would keep that branding because you've got a century in history of legacy and branding with that.
Well, one that was being contemplated, too, when these reports first hit was Conference USA was contemplating turning it over and becoming the Global Life Conference. It's an insurance company. So they had an opportunity there.
I think they should do that. Because Memphis, or the American, I want to say their television deal this year is going to bring in $7 million. We know that the Big Ten and the SEC is going to bring in $70 million. So that's 1/10. I believe that the CUSA deal is like $1.5 million. It's nothing.
Right.
So if you could get a deal that would pay each school another $1 million or something, that seems to me to be worth it. It's not like CUSA has this incredible legacy and history.
Exactly. And that's the challenge for the administrators, for these universities and for these conferences, is where are you going to find those additional revenue streams?
All right. We've already clarified that for every dollar that these teams bring in, schools are opting in to pay 22%, 22 cents out of that dollar for every dollar brought in. They got to make up that 22 cents somewhere, right? They're going to get some extra by bringing in revenue streams, but they're always looking for more so they can continue to sort of do business the way they have and have all these other sports that I'm sure will lose some, but that they're going to come out of the pocket of where the 22% are now going to labor. What new alternate revenue streams do you think we're going to see besides just making a conference become a brand name?
Wow, that's interesting to contemplate, because what has not already been explored? I mean, you look at sort of a menu that a Learfield, for example, can offer into the marketplace, right? I mean, Their pitch books will include stickers on steps to put corporate logos on steps in the arena, in the stadiums. What does not have a logo? And just use the Tigers as an example. What in that stadium does not have a logo attached to it now in terms of real estate? Now, there is some discussion about corporate field logos for this year, permanently painted onto the field. Now, you've seen that in some cases where it's the name of the stadium, but I think now they're even going to expand that. I mean, and you might just have an end zone completely painted with a corporate logo. And
so instead of the Memphis Tigers there will be Simmons Bank?
Conceivably, or even somebody else. I mean, a product,
right?
Beverage, whatever. So they
it would not be a bank, I don't think.
It will not be a competing bank. I would bet the farm on that one. Yes.
That is wild though. But you're saying you could see, let's say it's Coca-Cola,
right?
Because they believe in spending, in marketing. Coca-Cola in one end zone, and what's their other product that does really well for them?
Right.
Is it Gatorade?
It could be, well,
is Gatorade Coca-Cola?
They own it.
Yeah, Gatorade in the other.
It just becomes interesting, and those are all opportunities now. But that's where the scramble is, and that's what they're going to continue to look for, because somehow where you have to come up with the money to pay this stuff. And
I suspect the NIL will stay in. Some people are going, well, NIL could go away because they're paying them 22%. I don't believe that's the case. I think 22% is actually really 11% because the women are going to get 11%. That's Title IX. I don't see how they get around that at all. So in order to continue to pay huge money, like we keep hearing players are getting, they're going to have to get money that won't be subject to Title IX from NIL. I don't see how they don't coexist.
It's a huge challenge. And this is the that line, what keeps people up at night. Those are the issues keeping these administrators up at night, because they just have to figure, and they don't know where they're going, and they don't know what's going to be legal in terms of making reforms, because they still have all of these issues to decide with antitrust and what can happen.
And a judge hasn't yet decided on if the revenue share deal is good.
Sufficient. That's right. Yeah. So big challenges, and so it's if you're an athletic director or you're a conference commissioner, these are the things you're worried about, is how to keep up and compete. And then that gap that you talked about, the Southeast Conference and the Big Ten are pulling away from the rest of the field.
Since we're talking judges and antitrust laws, there was a suit won by NFL fans to the tune of $4+ billion, tripled because it was antitrust, to almost $14 billion. The NFL has to pay to those that had Sunday Ticket on DirecTV. Why did they sue? Why did they win?
So the interesting thing is, why did they sue, is that the class accused the NFL and its partners of colluding to, in essence, fix the price. There was one place you could get the product, that was via DirecTV, the NFL, DirecTV, and its other partners. In this case, even CBS and Fox all colluded to make that a high-priced, premium, out-of-market package. And many of us have had Sunday Ticket. If you are a Packer fan and live in Memphis, it's the way to watch a Packer game on a Sunday if they're not going to be on a national window. And it was always it was an interesting thing. But what you could not do is select a team and pay a reduced rate. So whatever the rate was, and at the very beginning, as I recall, it was in the about $180 range. It's up to $350 or $400 now, and it's just grown over time. The first year that the NFL Sunday Ticket ever existed was 1994. This was pre-DirecTV. This is, you had to put a big dish out behind your house. And then eventually it migrated to Sunday Ticket. It became exclusive to Sunday Ticket, and the dishes became those pizza pie dishes that you could put on your roof. But the consumers, and it was really driven by a single bar owner who stayed after it.
Yeah.
And because the price for a bar or a hotel or something was significantly more than the $200, $300, $400. But They accused the league of colluding and price fixing, and the jury found in their favor. And so this is huge because what it means going forward is, can the league continue to pool its media rights, first and foremost, and charge big numbers for that? The league has always relied on something called the Sports Broadcasting Act. This was a law that Congress made back in 1961, and that's what allowed the NFL at that time to pool its TV rights and sell them to a highest bidder collectively. And now look, you have to, part of what the NFL has done so well to get to this point has led to their success. And go back to our previous conversation of the Wild Wild West going on in college sports, where a Big Ten team makes $70 million and a team in a group of five makes $5 million. And they're trying to compete at the same level. Well, you can't do it. Right. And the NFL learned long ago, a team in a community the size of Green Bay can't compete against the New York Giants if we don't have revenue shares and collective media rights and things like that. So if you break this up, I think the Dallas Cowboys would have a very lucrative media deal, and the Tennessee Titans might not. Yeah. Just based on market size, based on following.
So what's going to happen with this? What? By the way, if you were in that suit, what are you getting?
It's about $1,900.
Wow!
So I'm going, send me the check.
You're a plaintiff?
I've been a Sunday Ticket subscriber since 1994.
Wow!
I never missed a year.
$1,900 to dank on this deal.
It's huge. I'm looking.
It's under appeal, by the way.
It's on appeal, and it's likely to be overturned.
Yeah. Thank you, Joe.
You bet.
As always, we appreciate it. We got to pause a second. When we come back to Nashville, we talk more NFL. That is with the voice of the Tennessee Titans. Mike Keith is right around the corner.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
To understand what makes Genesis Diamond so different than other jewelry stores, you have to go back over 40 years to the diamond cutting capital of Tel Aviv, Israel. That's where Genesis owner Boaz Ramon grew up, in the center of the diamond universe. His connections with the best diamond cutters allowed him special access, giving rise to a thriving wholesale business here in the United States. Then, after a few years, this wholesaler changed the game and started selling these precious diamonds direct to the public at the same prices he had sold to the jewelry stores. The no middleman concept became an instant success. Today, Genesis Diamonds provides that extraordinary value to people right here in Middle Tennessee, leading the industry with the highest quality diamonds that still come straight from the best cutters, offered at the guaranteed best price of any jewelry store in America. Genesis Diamonds, a truly revolutionary concept with a unique history rooted in quality, committed to excellence, and always focused on value. Genesis Diamonds, luxury brand Rolexes, and Poplar & Perkins Extended.
Jenkins Floors and More invite you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Think about it. How prepared are you for the unexpected? Emergencies strike without warning, and we all know something big will be thrown at us soon. Being prepared makes all the difference. This means having a reliable food supply stored to use during tougher times. That's why at My Patriot Supply, we sell thousands of our 4-week emergency food kits every week. Each kit is packed with delicious, easy-to-prepare meals that provide over 2,000 calories per day. These kits are designed to stand by for up to 25 years, ready to use when you need them most. This week, save $50 on every 4-week emergency food kit you need. Simply go to mypatriotsupply.com and secure one for each family member. That's $50 off every 4-week emergency food kit. Order by 3 p.m. and your kit's shipped that same day. It's better to have emergency food than to need it and not have it. Shop mypatriotsupply.com. mypatriotsupply.com.
Is your vehicle stopping like it should? Does it squeal or grind when you brake? Don't miss out on summer brake deals at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Welcome back into Nashville. We go momentarily. Our friend, the voice of the Titans, Mike Keith, standing by. Is brought to you by Memphis Public Golf. Can't wait. I get a sneak peek July 29th. Of course, I won't be able to play. I'll be rehabbing from shoulder surgery, which I found out, by the way, last year Mike Keith had. But I'm going to tool around in a golf cart on July the 29th and look at the brand new Audubon all 18 championship holes plus the 6-hole short course that'll be great for juniors. It's basically all par threes, I believe. And it's going to be the place where you can really learn to play golf. Everything is going on. We still got championships coming up. You want to learn more. You want to learn how to compete because they do have tournaments for everybody. You go to MemphisPublicLinks.com. You can make tee times there as well. What an amenity golf is. The city of Memphis recognizes that. I don't know a better public city golf course setup than Memphis. Mickey Barker, Austin Chin, all those guys who do such a great job. You see it every day. Go play Memphis Public Golf. Let's go to Nashville. Let's check in with our friend. That would be the great Mike Keith, voice of the Tennessee Titans. Good morning for you. Are you? Is this downtime? What are NFL teams doing right now? Hoping that nobody gets hurt in car crashes, or unfortunately that was a tragedy that occurred this past weekend, or drug testing for steroids and things of that nature. It's like the off season is always the most dangerous time for players. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, it is the time where coaching staffs and front office personnel are holding their breath because you worry about certain things. We're in the midst of about 5 weeks off. The team left here mid-June. They will be back here on July the 23rd. The coaching staff will return shortly before then. I think Brian Callahan gave the coaching staff a little more time off, Dave, because several of the guys had to move their families here. And, they were living in hotels while kids finished school years wherever they were before. Just normal stuff that people do when you change jobs. Mm-hmm. And so he wanted to give them plenty of time to get moved and have everything taken care of. And then at the same time, be able to do a little Disney trip or a cruise or go see grandma or whatever so that everyone would be rested and relaxed when they get here. One of the most interesting parts to me is the report date, July 23, is the report date for everyone. You can have injured players, rookies, and quarterbacks report earlier, but because this is new and because he wants everyone to come in on the same page, Brian Callahan is bringing in all 90 of the Titans on the same day.
Do players that live in the market there already, and most of them do, I would assume, do they get to use in this 5 weeks that are off? Do they get to use that to go in, work out, use the weights, use the rehab? Can they still do that?
Sure. Totally up to them. And, we have a facility since we did our redo here 2.5 years ago that is state-of-the-art. If guys don't want to go to Southern California or South Florida or Arizona or, one of those training centers where they like to go, if they don't want to do that, we have those sorts of facilities here. And so guys will come in and out of the building, in particular guys rehabbing injuries. Obviously, there is absolutely nothing to force them to come in because they are, as per their collective bargaining agreement, they're very much off. But you'll see guys passing in and out of the facility, especially as we get closer to July the 23rd.
You've seen coaches come and go. Jeff Fisher went. New systems came in. How difficult and how much of a change is that from going to Vrabel to Callahan? On paper, it looks to me like it'll be different. How much of a getting accustomed to time period is there?
A considerable amount. I think that's a real thing. And in my opinion, that's why even though there's a ton of optimism here, and we're already a better team talent-wise in terms of the roster than at any point a year ago because of what we were able to do in free agency and in the draft, there's still going to be some adjustment. And that's why I think you'll see our starters play more in the preseason than they would in years past. Most teams don't play their starters at all in the preseason now. And I think you'll see us, based on some things that Brian Callahan has said, I think you'll see us choose to employ some of those guys in the preseason in order to maybe knock down some of that communication problem, some of that adjustment, some of that terminology. You know, I go back to Joe Gibbs when he took over Washington. He started 0-5, finished 8-8, and then won the Super Bowl the next year. And, you know, you think about that 0-5 and you're like, were they that bad? It's like, no, but everybody's not on the same page. We saw that with Mike Vrabel when he came in. We started 2-4 and then picked up, and by the end of the season, we were playing for a chance to go to the playoffs. It'll take a minute, and people need to be patient that we're going to have to deal with some of that, hopefully not as much of it as in years past.
I find it interesting when teams don't play starters at all. And the reason I say that is I remember a few years ago, and they went to 17, and they were going, we got to have exhibition games. I was an advocate of saying, play 18 regular season games, do 2 preseason games, just so you get a little rhythm, and let's go for it. Because who wants to lose a player in an exhibition game, which is why they don't play the starters. And I kept hearing veterans, and I've had many ex-players come here as guests on a regular basis, and they go, you will not see good football unless you guys play in the preseason. You got to have 3 games minimum in order to get your rhythm, learn how to play with your teammates. These games are critical. And then they kept the 3. They got the exhibition, the 17, and now they don't play those guys anyway. It seems ironic to me.
I think you're right. I very much agree with what you're saying. We're going to have 18-2. It's only a matter of time.
Right.
I mean, and the players have altered their stance on that since we went to 17, because there's a whole bunch more money in the salary cap for them since we went to another regular season game, in large part because of what it's done for media. You know, there's an extra game out there for streaming or for a TV package or for prime time, for a Christmas, however you want to do it. And they're doing it. They're finding it. And the majority of the money from the TV or the streaming goes to the players towards the salary cap. So we'll go to 18-2. The whole logic about not playing starters, though, is if we get Tom Brady hurt or if we get Patrick Mahomes hurt in a preseason game against Detroit, then we're stupid.
Right.
Then we've just been foolish. It's like sitting starters in a regular season finale that doesn't matter. You're saying, well, so-and-so needs to play, and that's why they weren't sharp in their first playoff game, and it's why they lost. But if you had gotten so-and-so, your star player, hurt in a regular season finale that didn't matter, well, then you're an idiot. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, in the opinion of most NFL people. I think what you're seeing more of, though, where you do see the starters work, is the joint practices. And I think when we go to 18-2, let's say we go to Seattle. Well, we're going to go out, we're going to practice against Seattle. And then let's say Minnesota comes here. Well, then Minnesota's going to come here and practice against us. That's where you're going to get the majority of the starter work. However, as we say this, Brian Callahan has made it pretty clear he wants to see his guys play at least some, not a half. Like, when I started with the team, the starters would be in there for 3 quarters,
right?
In a preseason, and you're like, what? To think about that now is almost crazy.
Well, I understand you don't want to get Will Levis hurt. I understand
Sure.
you don't want Tony Pollard to get hurt. But I'm looking at my offensive line. I want those guys to play some series together because they've got to communicate. I want my DBs and my linebackers on the same page. And honestly, I think they got to see different stuff happening in order for that reactive thing to occur. I don't see how you don't play them, and that was the point that the former players were making to me when I was arguing about, I don't see the importance of a preseason whatsoever.
Well, it's true. I mean, the importance of the preseason is very much for the back end of your roster. And I get that. But, you do have to have some guys get some time together with the live bullets. And I do think that's where you're seeing the joint practices make a difference.
Yeah, and that never occurred before that I knew of.
Very rarely. We went to DeKalb, Illinois.
Yeah, Northern Illinois University.
And practiced against the Rams when they were in St. Louis. But it was a rarity that happened in the modern era. Now, when Dave McGinnis started his coaching career with the Bears and all the teams were training in Wisconsin, then, they would get together and practice against one another, as a change-up. That's also when preseason was 6 weeks, which when you really think about it, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But, I mean, compared to today and how these guys have it, because we actually now have in the NFL a ramp-up period. So the players will report on the 23rd. They'll start practice on the 24th, but there will be a ramp-up period of 5-6 days before they can put pads on. And that's new.
Yeah.
Because before, guys would just show up and they'd throw the pads on and they'd be slugging it out. And, Dave, they do it 2 practices a day.
Right, 2 days. 2 days. They're gone, right? No more 2 days.
You can have a practice and a walkthrough.
Wow.
And those things, there are cameras in the facilities now of the 32 teams and of the practice sites to make certain that nobody is taking advantage of that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Great stuff. We're going to take next week off. I'm having a procedure similar to the one that you had. I'm getting a shoulder replacement. Mine's a little different. Mine's a complete reversal. But you've had the same thing, so you're telling me I got tough times ahead, huh?
You got a little bit of a tough time, but man, when the pain's out of there, I'm going to Chattanooga Friday. We're doing a Titans event at the Lookouts game, and that's the first place I ever saw a professional baseball game was in Chattanooga to watch the Lookouts play. Well, they've asked me to throw out the first pitch. Dave, I don't know how that's going to go. I don't know where it's going to go. I've been working on it a little bit, and some of the throws look normal, back to the old days, and then some of the throws just go off to the side. So, I hope everyone has insurance.
At this point, I would have to do it underhand. Best of luck. Let me know how it comes out. We'll talk in 2 weeks.
Thanks, David.
You got it. That's the voice of the Tennessee Titans. That is Mike Key. Thanks to our good friend Joe Dank for his business on sports. Tomorrow, Dennis Philippi, golf picks, the whole schmear. Can't wait for that. Thank you, Zach Boyd. Johnny Radio's right around the corner. Have a great day, everybody.